Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I hope everybody is having a great day and continues to do so. And welcome to our last session of creative workshops. This has been a series of 20 different workshops designed to help guide and give light to every one of our 24 different techniques, 45 different modalities in All Dance International. And it's been a wonderful experience that's been accompanied by our judges and staff of All Dance International, trying and giving light based on our organic code and our philosophy in All Dance International. So these experts have been sharing with us all the details and information that will help you develop and create your competitive choreographies in All Dance International. So it's been a great pleasure, and we hope you enjoyed this last workshop with us. I want to give a special thank you to All Dance International and to Maria Fernanda Castro, our General Director, who always looks for new ways and develops new techniques and new different innovative ways to help us guide you and share and grow the dance industry and all dancers alike. So thank you very much for this opportunity. And today here with us, we have, of course, one of our All Dance International juries that is a very important part of our organization and staff. He has a long and wonderful trajectory, choreographer, teacher that loves and respects all dancers and follows and also is part of the philosophy of All Dance International. A great human being, teacher, dancer, all around. It's a great opportunity and a pleasure to be with him here today. His name is Carlos Duque, and he's here to share with us wonderful information. So welcome, Duque.
Thank you, Sandra. Here we are in our last workshop. Thank you for letting me join you. And thank you also to All Dance International for letting me share all these tips I have for this commercial dance modality. So I'm ready, and let's go.
Well, yes, today we are here with, as I was saying, one of our modalities that is commercial dance. Today we will be learning, beside Duque, what are all the little elements, all the little details, and the big ones that we should take into account when we are doing our choreographies, when we are composing them. And those little details are going to help and improve our creative process, because of course we need all the imagination we can have, all of those wonderful things that each one of you is going to bring to the choreographies, but we also need the information that is going to be the material and the fuel for this creative process. So here with us, we're going to learn everything about a commercial dance alongside of Duque. So with further ado, Duque, I'll leave you with them.
Thank you. So let's start with commercial dance modality. This modality was born and evolved thanks to the music industry. The choreography is based on the styles of music and emotion that wants to be expressed. It is a choreography designed according to the music genre and does not have a specific dance technique. I want you guys to think on commercial dance as a straight line. In difference of urban show, that this line we need to break it into highlights and low spaces. On commercial dance, we need to try to remain this line as much as straight as we can, but also developing and creating good choreographies that let us express and show our dance techniques and our skills as a dancer. Also, the commercial dance modality use choreographic resources and elements of various urban dance techniques, such as walking, house dance, voguing, modern Afro, dancehall, reggaeton, commercial dance, among many others. Since its creation aims to support the proposal of the moment within the music industry and provide a good show. Let's remember that commercial dance has a lot of influence from the pop culture, the reggaeton culture, and every other kind of urban culture around the world, but that surrounds the development of artists, singers, and the dance scene that makes it the commercial way of dance. Also, these proposals must have commercial music without the sound effects or music editing. 2, maximum 3 songs are recommended if the mix is has more than 3 different artists, or more than just one artist, okay? So let's try to keep it to 2 and maximum 3 songs in the whole mixtape or remix. Its dynamism and visual impact lies in the choreography design games, staging more than within the medium and low level. So, as I said before, try to think of commercial dance as a straight line and try to not break it into so much levels, but to keep it straight so the audience and the judges can, judge according to the dance you are trying to express. Also, as a tip and also as a rule, the commercial dance modality can include up to 2 gymnastic elements or acrobatic figures, and lift will be allowed in this modality. Footwear and clothing must be according to the aesthetics and not appropriated and be appropriated for the staging, sorry. As a note again, the stagings that have steps similar to known artists of a specific musical genre will be not considered plagiarism. So we've been asked in the Spanish version of this workshop about the jazz shoes for this modality, and we want to clarify that the shoes must be kind of urban or kind of sneaker kind of type, because this is the shoes that the artists or the dancers are wearing in the stage proposal or in the big concerts that we used to see this kind of choreographies. And in general, I want you to see the commercial dance modality as a measured choreography, okay? We need to put these little ingredients so we can make a perfect choreography. And you need to remember 4 steps. The first one is the styles. In all dance, the judges, we can recognize a block of an style if it has 32 counts of the style. For example, if you're doing a walking choreography, if it has 32 counts of walking steps, then we're going to consider it a walking choreography. So if you're including styles that are not into the commercial dance modality rules, try to use elements or inspirations or little steps so we don't consider it a block that is out of the modality. As a second thing, try to not incorporate too much sound effects into the mixtape or not too many songs, because just as the choreography, we need to hear the music as fluid as we can, remaining on that mid line. And if you're included way too much songs or too much sound effects, it's gonna go to another modality that can be interpreted as urban show. So also clarifying this, if you're using a live show of an artist and you're using that mixtape, we will appreciate and good scores, sorry, because it is also a known show for that artist. Also, try to keep the gestuality according to the sense of the artist that you're interpreting. Try to keep the good image, try to keep a good costume and the proper shoes according to the proposal you are bringing to the stage. And remember to not add more than 2 gymnastic elements, and those are not even required. You can just add up to 2, but if you have 0, that's going to be fine, because commercial dance go around that steady line that we're hoping to see in this modality.
Thank you very much. Yes, very important little details to keep in mind, to always have, and well, those are some elements that can help you in not only when choosing the modality, but especially when you're creating your choreographies for the modality. That is, well, the biggest recommendation. Now, we know the details that the choreography should include. Now let's see what other elements will be important. For example, the material we're working with, well, actually are the dancers also who are going to be interpreting these choreographies. So it's important to know the elements that are going to be important. For example, the levels that will divide the dancers. We have developed 4 basic levels, 7 levels in total, to help guarantee that these competitive environments are positive and can help in the growth of the dancers. Now, for this, we are not going to be dividing them in, let's say, regarding how many years the dancers have been or training, or maybe on stage competitive experiences, because that is not an element we can determine easily. What we do consider is the elements in the choreography and what we can see in the performance of the dancer. So keeping this in mind, we're going to begin with our most beginner and our smallest level, that is our new dancers. This is a level designed for all those beginner dancers in dance in general, not just in commercial dance, but in dance in general, where we can see that the dancers are just beginning to let's say, begin to educate their musical ear, their spatial awareness, all the small things that we begin with when we're just starting to get the dominion of our body in dance. So when we see some technical elements in the choreography, they should be simple. We should not be seeing double turns if they are turning at all. Very complex jumps, or jumps that involve the complete extension of both legs at 180 degrees, that require a certain training for them to be able to execute correctly. If they're doing acrobatic elements, which remember we can include a maximum of 2, well, we should keep it with both hands on the floor as support, or the whole body supporting the floor, the body on the floor for the support. So this will be those basic elements that, if they are exploring, well, we'll keep them in the new all dancers. Of course, the idea is for the dancers to continuously be evolving and learning and going to the next level. So when these dancers are already past this level and are training and are working on more complex turns, more complex jumps, maybe some more difficult acrobatic elements, well, then we will of course pass them to student level, where we will see all those elements, and we do not have, let's say, any regard on the difficulty in the choreographies, because here, well, it will depend on the development of each dancer in their progress, in their process, and of course the elements you wish to include in the choreography. So here we'll see dancers from 6 years old and over, unlike in new dancers, where we will see dancers from 4 years old up to 14 years old that include those elements in their choreographies. Now, when the dancers are students and they start taking dance more seriously, maybe are part of a dance company, they're principal dancers, or even sometimes student teachers, assistants that start teaching and sharing all this knowledge in some way with others, well, then we have the pre-professional and the professional levels. Now, when they are teachers, choreographers, even student teachers, and are between 15 years old and 17 years old, we will be considering them pre-professional dancers. When these dancers are 18 years and over and are teachers, choreographers, workshop artists, then we will be considering them professional dancers. So these are important elements to keep in mind, so we know which level our dancer will be competing. And of course, according to this, we will include the different elements, because this will be part of the expectations as well. Some choreographies, we may not only have new dancers, not only students, not only pre-professionals, and we may have a combination of levels in the same choreography. For this, we have designed our, let's say, other levels, where we have, for example, student open. In the same choreography, we can see some new dancers, some students alike in the same level. When we have pre-professionals and professionals sharing the stage together in the choreographies, we'll have the level open pro. And we have our other level that's open. This is open, all levels, all ages, large groups, and open production. Now, this is for those large productions that sometimes include even the whole studio, the whole school, where we can see all levels, beginning new all dancers, including professionals, and we can mix them with without any consequences, without any problem. And this will actually be part of the creative process, and how we use all those levels in our choreography can be very interesting as well. So those are the levels we have, but according to the levels and the ages will also come the expectation of the judges for the choreographies. Because, for example, in the new dancers, we have restrictions. We can't see too many difficult elements. So what are the judges going to be looking for? So this is going to be part of what Duque is going to be sharing with us, so you know what elements you should consider when creating your choreographies for commercial dance. So Duque, what can you share regarding these expectations for the choreographers?
Sure. So according to the levels in the commercial dance modality, I'm going to explain them, but I want you to think of the commercial dance modality level process as if the goal is to dance with an recognized artist and maybe go in tour with him or she. So on the neo dancers level, we will expect the dancers to be working on their body development, on the skills, on their technique, but also to think of the new dancers as if they are preparing to go to that audition, if they are training to go to that audition and to dance with this artist, but they are still training to be able to still even go to that audition, okay? To even learn how to move their body properly, to do transitions clearly, but they are also they also know how they should work in these styles in the stage. For the student level, we're expecting these students to already be able to go to this audition, to give their best within their knowledge, to know a little bit more their body, their skills, their equilibrium. I don't know if that's the proper word in English, but you know, to know their skills a little bit further than the new dancers division, and to be sure so they can go to this dancers audition to work for their goal. And in the semi-professional and professional levels, we expect these dancers not only to be able to go to this audition, but to actually be picked for this artist. Yeah, balance. Thank you, Sandra. To also be picked to be a dancer of this tour, to be a dancer of this artist, and to create these proposals and these choreographies that can go viral on internet, that can, you know, be hired on other countries to be teaching workshops, to be showing other dancers in the industry the work that they put on stage. So we expect to these pro and semi-pro divisions and levels to be according to the dancers standards of the industry, of this pop culture, and what the whole industry expect from a professional to bring to the stage. So just keep this in mind, and when you're choreographing to these different levels, try to put it in this context, and I'm pretty sure you're gonna be doing a great job. Sorry.
Perfect. Very important things to keep in mind. And remember, especially well, in all dance and here in commercial dance, attitude it's all about the attitude, how we face the stage. And well, of course, for professionals and pre-professionals, that's a must. And the idea is to start working on that since they're even new all dancers, because that attitude, well, is an important part of dance and here in commercial dance as well. Now, we know what the elements we should include, let's say in modality wise in commercial, and what will be the characteristics special for this modality. Now we know the levels and what we should be including according to the level and what will be the expectations. Now let's see all those other criteria that will be part of the scoring process. Now we have developed the scoring method in All Dance International to help guarantee a good evaluation and everybody have equal opportunities, and for it to be a positive competitive environment for everybody. So in order for this, we have designed a scoring method that is based on 3 judges. We have a maximum score possible of 100 points, and 70 of these points can be awarded by the modality judge. And this judge will also be giving a feedback to each one of the performances to also help in this development. And we have the complementary judge that can be awarding the maximum of 30 points to complete the 100 points maximum possible. So the idea is we want to be able to see what those criteria are, so we always keep them in mind. And we have a third judge that's a deduction judge that we also want to know the criteria, because this can be points that can be subtracted and we want to avoid this. So we want to see what the criteria that will add to our performance, and we want to know the criteria that will maybe not be so positive for your performances. So the idea is we're going to be sharing them with you. Now, these criteria don't all have the same maximum score or points possible given to the dancers. So when we see them there, we have to keep in mind that we're going to try to look for the maximum in the range possible for these scores. Now, we have, let's say, an average score that is what's expected according to the level and the ages and the modality, of course, for each one of the criterias. Well, the idea, and we always want to go above average and surpass and of course, surprise with the elements and each criteria and get those almost perfect scores or even perfect scores in each criteria. In some criteria, we may be still a little bit below average and have to work a little bit harder on certain criteria. But the idea is when you receive all your score sheets, well, you know in what specific criteria we're doing okay, which ones we're doing excellent and we're exceeding those expectations, and in which ones we still may have to work on a little more and concentrate on obtaining that average score and of course eventually go above average. So this will be helpful in that scoring process, and of course for you to improve in this areas as well. Now let's see the specific criteria, because of course that is important. Now, in the modality judge, we have several criteria. The first ones we're going to go over are one, specific technique that is going to be speaking about correct modality and technical level. Now, the correct modality, this is about all the small details and all the elements at the beginning that Duque was sharing with us. What kind of music, what kind of elements, what are those characteristics that are proper for commercial dance, and how we can use these in our advantage in order to have, of course, the highest score possible here. In the technical level, we are going to be, of course, regarding the level that we also spoke about, the technical level that we see in these dancers and in their choreography and that are included there. Now, going hand in hand with this, we have the execution. That's going to be part of the synchronization and skill. Now, the synchronization will be the synchronization in the dancers, in the choreography, that we can see the timing, we can see the coordination between them, even if it's completely the same in sync, or if it's going maybe asynchronic and they're going different times, they're doing canons, but this should also be clear. So that's where we're going to see the synchronization in the dancers. And of course, the skill. The skill will be, of course, regarding the level, the age of the dancers, and the technical level. So the preciseness and clearness of the execution of their steps and all the elements included in the choreography. So this is going to be part of what is going to be considered execution. And we have also the difficulty. When we're speaking of difficulty, we're talking about extraordinary movements and elements of risk, which naturally we think that are acrobatic and gymnastic elements that, of course, if we use them, that we can use if we want to, maximum 2 in commercial dance, will be included, but it's not exclusive to these elements. Each one of the techniques that we have in All Dance International has different elements that will be considered extraordinary movement or elements of risk, because each technique has different elements that we can use that can be more complex, have to have a lot more skills developed in order to execute them. And those are the little details that will make the difference. And not only the acrobatic elements, because in some modalities, we're not even allowed to use them. Here we have a maximum of 2 if you wish to use them, but if you do not wish to, there are other elements that you can include that can help you in these scores. And this is where Duque is going to come in hand and tell us a little bit more about, specifically in this modality, how these criteria can apply and how we can use them in our advantage.
Sure. So in the specific technique for the correct modality, just try to remember the basis of the modality. As we said before, choreograph a measured proposal so you don't go and exceed those rules that create a commercial dance choreography. On the technical level, remember the 32 rules to create a block for the styles. Don't add many resources of a style that is not on the commercial dance modality. If you're gonna use a resource, do it measured. And the techniques also, do it measured so you don't go and confuse the judges or the audience with a hip hop or maybe with an urban show choreography, but to remain according to the basis on the commercial dance modality. On the execution, the synchronization, I think this is one of the most easy scores to get on the commercial dance modality, because we are asking the choreography to stay and remain on this straight line, so the dancers can work more in their body movements. And this is an easy way to work in the synchronization, because we don't expect like high impact formation or high impact effects. So we just expect to be clean, to be dense, and to be able to appreciate it in a more clear way. So try to work on the synchronization in this modality so you can hit those 5 points on the score. Also the skills, same as the technical level. If you're going to use some resources or elements from different style techniques, try to master those skills so you get 5 points on the techniques. But also, if you're not using a specific technique, try to work on the skills of each dancers, the strength, the precision, the gestuality, everything that is a skills for the dancer, not only talking about different dance techniques, but just skills work so they can be clear in the choreography development. And as Sandra said in the difficulty, it's not mandatory to have these 2 acrobatics for the commercial dance division. So we're going to be just scoring the way that choreography is created, maybe the difficulty in the transitions, the difficulty in the formations. And we have a specific like staging formations for commercial dance, because as you can see in YouTube or many other tools, the concerts, the artist concerts have these open positions between the dancers. Everybody can see clearly through the whole staging. We don't have like anybody in front of any other dancers, so the whole show can be seen. And this is the difficulty we're going to be scoring in this modality. So keep this in mind at the time of choreographing these proposals.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, very important to keep all those details well always in there in your head and on your creation. And not only this, we're also going to be seeing, for example, these other criteria: musicality. That goes in hand a lot with the synchronization and all of the elements, but here we're going to be speaking about the musical interpretation, how the music is used, and well, of course, the synchronization with the music in the choreography by the dancers, and well, the use of this music. And of course, the music per se, the music by itself, that is part of the commercial dance, elements that are going to be included, like commercial dance, commercial music. And if it has an addition, if it's edited music, well, it has a clean and good addition to it. So these are elements that are going to come into musicality. In the choreography, we're going to be looking for the costume and the complexity. Now, the costume, of course, regarding the modality of commercial dance, because we're not going to be seeing costumes for ballet or for belly dance, we're going to be seeing costumes for commercial dance. So this costume should, one, be according to the aesthetics of commercial dance, but also help support your energy, the idea, and what's going into the choreography that you are going to try to, of course, connect and communicate with the audience. So this should be one element that can help you in that creation. And the complexity here, we're talking about the complexity of the choreography as a whole, not only of the elements that we're going to be including in it, but the composition of the choreography in complete. So the complexity here is going to be, of course, the differences of the use of different formations, the difference of different dynamics that we're going to get the choreography, different speeds, different elements that can, of course, make it a more complex choreography as a whole in the creation. And of course, the creativity and entertainment. Well, here the creativity, as always, is an important part, but here more because we are creating a piece that is supposed to be well, to support a music, to support an artist. And of course, this will make it very unique, and it should have your personal, let's say, stamp there, that we can see that is your way of supporting the dancer, and what elements you would include, depending on the song, depending on everything, and of course, using the resources that we have of commercial dance. Now, the entertainment is going to go in hand with all of the elements, even including the complexity of the choreography, because it'll give it more dynamics. And of course, the entertainment that we can communicate with the audience, and it's the entertainment industry also here. So it's going to be, let's say, a must, because we have to be entertaining. And the enjoyment of the choreography will be in hand with the enjoyment of the dancers on stage. Because when we enjoy what we do, it's more likely that people are going to enjoy this process with us. So even as a choreographer, if you enjoy the process of the creation of the choreography, that will also be a part of what the dancers can hold on to, and they will enjoy it probably as much as you did. So these are elements that are going to be important, and also that can help you in the creation of your choreographies for every dance and for commercial dance. Here, maybe Duque can give some little more insight, some more tips of this modality, and how we can use some of these elements.
Sure. So in this musicality score, let's remember that in this modality, we should not add this lot of sound effects in top of the music, but we can choose musics that has this amount of layers, talking about bass, talking about the instrumentals, talking about the different elements we have on the same song, so we can dance to the voice, we can dance to these different layers, so we can create this musical interpretation or dancing to these different beats in this song without the need of adding too much sound effects to the mixtape. So we as judges and also the audience will appreciate in this modality to see this change of dancing to different layers of the song and not of the effects. On the choreography, the costume should, as I said before, it will depend on the essence of the artist you're choosing or the music you're choosing for your proposal, and the complexity. We don't need to add this lot of formation or high impact formation, but we can develop a layered choreography, so we can make it more complex, make it different. When some dancers are dancing in this level, you can also put dancers in different levels without the need of adding too much formations, but just to make the choreography a little bit more rich. So add these layers, add these different synchronizations levels, add maybe people doing different stuff, but that made a whole show. So the complexity score, can be from the top. In the creativity, it's easy when you choose these songs that has sticky choruses, so the audience can go along with it and the judge can go along with it. And in the creativity score for the commercial dance modality, what we want to see is how you manage to keep in this straight line that the choreography should follow, but to make it creative and entertaining. Okay, so try to have this in mind when you choreograph for this modality.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, very important. And those are little tips that can help you in, your creation for commercial dance in the modality aspect. Now, remember, we have another judge that will be giving the other 30 points that will also have to keep these criteria in mind. But before that, speaking of creativity, there's a very important part of this creativity that would be plagiarism, or what we call intellectual property. Duque already told us a little bit about that, but here we want to always keep in mind that it's not only something we should keep in mind, but if we do not include it and we do go into plagiarism and we go against intellectual property, will have a negative effect, not only because it's not going to be creative, but we can have a deduction for this. So it's always important to keep in mind that we can be inspired by the artist, by other choreographers, but always use that as inspiration, but create from that our own interpretation of those elements. Here, well, we have, of course, certain artists that have maybe some steps, or maybe, let's say, like hook steps that a choreography or a song may have, and we may use as a resource, but not go into copying a whole choreography or a lot of sequences, but use them in our own composition in a unique and different way. So this will help us be creative, and if we want to make reference to those movements that are particular for the choreography, for the music, or even the artist, well, it'll give it that uniqueness in the way we use them. So if you want to include them, it's a possibility, but always keep in mind that we are expecting you to be creative with these elements and not just copy a choreography from an artist. So, and specifically, a lot of artists already have choreographies for certain music, or we see choreographies in the video. So use them as inspiration and not to copy it, just copy paste. So we don't have any problem here. And you have, of course, good scores in the creativity aspect. Now, the criteria for the complementary judge, well, of course, go in hand with the elements, but we're going to be seeing from a different perspective, just these elements by themselves. Now, first is going to be the stage use. The stage use will be divided in space, formations, levels, and transitions. So here, the use of the space, we're going to be recording independently if it's one dancer, 2, 3, 40 dancers on stage. It's how we use the stage, not the necessary just filling the stage. Because, well, of course, one dancer will need to use the stage and fill it through movement, but 40 dancers, for example, just standing there will fill it. But we want to see how those 40 dancers use the stage and not just fill it up with one, let's say, formation. Now, this is where formations come into hand. The different formations we can use that will also help create different effects in the choreography that will help reinforce the energy we want. Is also going to be very important. And remember, we have so many formations. We don't always have to stay in the same formation. We have circles, semicircles, diagonals, triangles. We can also work with different formations simultaneously. So this will be part of what's going to be, of course, valued by the complementary judge. The same as levels. We have a high, middle, and low levels in dance in general. So the use of these different levels is going to give a little bit of dynamics. Here in commercial dance, well, of course, the use of levels is important, but it's not going to be so exaggerated because remember, of course, the middle plane is going to be, let's say, more predominant. But we can still, let's say, play a little with the levels so we see different dynamics. But of course, it's not going to be expected the same use of levels as, for example, in urban show, that there must be a lot of levels used for those dynamics. And in transitions, we're going to be talking about how we use the space, formation, and levels, how we go from one point to the other, how we go from our circle to our line, how we go from our high level to our low level if we're using them, and how we move through the space, how clear it is from how we go from one movement to the other. So that is going to be what is going to be considered, of course, the transitions. And in the image, well, we've talked a lot about the image in other aspects here, but this is where we are going to be seeing the specifics of the image, the creativity of this image, the accessories used to, well, of course, tell the story, show the character, show the music, and the energy is going to come with the music. The makeup is going to be very important here because, of course, we're on stage, not only in the competition, but these choreographies are designed to be on stage, of course, and to support dancers, to support the artist, and of course have a certain visual aesthetics also that is going to be expected here for the song and for commercial intention. So that's part of the entertainment industry. that is part of what's going to be, well, of course, let's say a must in these types of choreographies in commercial dance. So those elements are, let's say, some of the one that our complementary judge is going to be looking for, and that we should keep always in mind and see how we're going to use them in our advantage. Now here, I don't know if Duque has some tips that may help you and guide you in these aspects.
Yes. So for the stage use, commercial dance is the modality in which we can say that doing less is actually better than in other modalities, because what we expect here is to be able to see a clean line, clean transitions, clean formations, defined levels, usage of the stage. Everything needs to be so clean so you can get these high scores on stage use. So I would recommend you again to watch these tools, try to watch a lot of live shows for the artists, see how these choreographies are made and how they use the stage, so you can do like a proper stage usage. Try to not add too much formations like exceed of bunches, because these kind of formations are used maybe in the hip hop or maybe in the urban show, but these are not formations that you as a choreographer can teach in a workshop. So try to remain the idea that you're going to teach this choreography or this routine in an international workshop or dance with an artist, and these formations need to be designed for this kind of choreographies. Also, the transitions are not only when you go to one point of to the other point of the stage. Sorry, it also it's when you come to the stage and go out of the stage. And I'm not talking about the end and the beginning of the choreography, but in between. If you have like a big group and you're doing you know, when the dancers go in or out the stage, also these transitions are very important to design, so we can see the creativity and the complexity of the routine. Also the scores from transitions here. And the image will also depend, as I said before, in the essence of the music or the artist you're choosing to for your proposal or for your choreography. The creativity in the image is something really important. I dare to say that most of the commercial dance choreographies that we are going to be seeing in the competition are going to be an inspiration of this pop culture or this reggaeton culture. And most of these artists, what are thinking on bringing to the stage, it's really energetic, colorful, or really bright costumes or bright ideas. Most of these proposals are not way too underground, or you know, with this low quality of colors in the costumes. So try to inspire in that, trying to inspire if you're choosing to do, for example, J Balvin, which has a lot of colors, you can't go that dark on the costume. If you're choosing, let's say, Britney Spears, try to focus on that energy. You don't need to do the same costumes, but to do the essence of this artist, and try to keep it commercial, try to keep it a show, because that's what they are thinking and bringing to the stage, and you need to think in the same way. The same happens with accessories. For this specific modality, we don't expect you to use like a lot of props, but if you're choosing, for example, to do the choreography of Jennifer Lopez, where she used this canes, also it's well seen. We're going to give it a good scoring accessory, but be careful in how you use it and how you bring it to the stage, and it's going to be respected because the artists use these props on the live shows. The makeup and the visual aesthetics, as I said before, depend on the essence of the music and the artist you're bringing. Try to remain it commercial. That's the word, commercial. You need to sell to the audience, you need to sell to masses, and that's what they are thinking. You know, they are thinking on shows that can get this money, can be paid to see. So try to keep it in that.
Thank you very much. Yes, a lot of details to keep in mind, and that can always add to our performances when we have them, of course, beforehand, and we include them in our choreography. That's going to be part of that creation. Now, the other aspects and the other criteria that the complementary judge will be looking for is the performance projection. That is very important part of what we're going to be doing here also in commercial dance. So here we're going to be talking about gestuality, authenticity of character, force of movement, and interpretation. Well, all of these go together, and of course, as a whole, are part of the performance projection from how we the gestuality of what we're interpreting, the gestures that are not only facial expressions, but we're also about the gestures of the whole body and what the body is saying. That comes from how we even have our posture and what our body is telling the audience and what we're going to be communicating to the audience. And that goes with the energy as well. If it's happy, if it's sad, and those movements are going to be there as well and be part of the authenticity of the character. That it can be a little character, but normally this is a character we're creating around a certain song or around a certain element that we want to tell. So it should be clear what the character you want to portray in your choreography. Not necessarily we're doing a Beyonce song and we're doing Beyonce, because we don't have to be Beyonce. We're the backup dancers, let's say, of Beyonce. So what is the character and what they are going to be telling through the choreography? So that is the characters we want to see. You don't have to create a specific character that's already created. We want your character on the stage. And if you're using them, what are they saying? And how are they going to say, and how are we going to do that through a lot of elements? For example, the force of movement. The quality of movement is going to add to all these elements and to the gestuality. And the quality of movement is going to be, well, should be clear and reinforce the energy. So we want to see the correct force of movement required for that step or that piece of choreography. If it's supposed to be sharp, if it's supposed to be soft, if it's supposed to be fluid, continuous, or if it's supposed to be sustained. So what is the quality and the force of movement required for that step and that piece to give that character that intention? And as you see, it adds on to also the gestuality and the posture we want to interpret that you are choosing for that. And all of this comes together and will form part of the interpretation. How the gestuality, the character, and the movements come together and what they're saying, and how we actually communicate those ideas through the movement to the audience and to everybody. So the interpretation should be clear of what we're doing, and that is where it all comes, let's say, together, and the performance projection. So that is also going to be there. And last, but of course not least, we have the public response. So this is the way the audience can support the dancer, other than what we always expect the support, that it's going to be being there present with the applauses, the energy. That specifically in this modality is very important, because of course the artists depend on their fans, depends on the audience to be, of course, entertainers. How are we going to be entertainers if we're not entertaining people? So that's a very important part of this modality as well. So here, how are we supporting them? Through social media, through being there live on stage, or live through Zoom when they're being transmitted. So always support the dancers. And this is a way not just to support them emotionally, but to support them literally through the possibility of helping them with their scores. And of course, showing if they are doing a good job in this entertainment industry. So always keep that in mind. And well, here's where you guys are, let's say, part of our panel and invited judges in the panel of the complementary judge. Now here, Duque, I know he has some very good tips that can help you in these criteria as well.
Yes, so as of performance projection, I think the whole score is well self-explained, but try to keep between the essence of the proposal you're bringing to the stage. Try to imagine that all of this song you're using already has a music video, which you don't need to actually copy, but the song has an essence, the song has a beat, and all of that together with the gestuality, without the force of movement, will give you a proper performance projection score. So try to not be way too far from what the music makes the public feel. and what the music makes the judges feel, but try to go along with that. Try to make it fluid with the music, to follow the script that the music offers, so you can get that interpretation properly, the force of movement, and the whole performance projection. And the public response, again, try to use these little tools that the commercial dance let you use for these sticky songs. Maybe the dancers for the artists already have this really nice and viral choreography that you can choose these little steps, maybe not all of them, but for example, the moonwalk, sorry, for Michael Jackson, or the hand thing for Beyonce. But try to incorporate those little details so you can make it, for the public to go along with you. These are not mandatory, but are just ideas to help you create this really nice and enjoyable show. We also respect the originality that you're going to incorporate, but try to keep it also entertaining so the public can go along with you and can support you in the routine. So yes.
Very, very well. Very useful tips that will, if you wish to include them, will help you in your process, or maybe it will do some other little things that maybe inspired you when you heard this. So nothing. Take that into account, and well, there are tips that can help you out. Now, these are the criteria that can add. The criteria that the judges will be looking for and can add to your score. Now we're going to see the criteria of the deduction judge, which on the contrary, we want to avoid. These are the criteria that we do not want to include in our choreography, that if we know them, we can avoid them. And as you'll be seeing, most of them can be foreseen, avoided, and we won't have these deductions. Now, first and foremost, we have wrong modality. Now, wrong modality is when we do not include enough elements in these aspects and go on to another modality. So it's very important to keep in mind what are the main aspects of commercial dance, so we don't go out of the nature of commercial dance into another modality, for example, an urban show, and what are the aspects that are going to be expected. So it's also good for you to go and watch the workshop of urban dance, of hip hop, maybe even show. That are some modalities that we don't want to cross the line with, in order to be sure that what we are doing is commercial dance, and maybe we're not stepping over a line that may be another modality. So that's very important, and I really recommend that you go on our official YouTube channel, All Dance International Official, and watch the videos, especially the modality part in the beginning, so you know the important aspects of those other modalities and we're not crossing a line. Wrong division. Here we're talking about the age groups. We didn't go through the age groups today, but we saw them in our first workshop, that we talked about all the little details in our rules and our organic code that can help you, and this is part of it, the divisions, depending on the age of the dancers or the age range that in the groups or duets or in any union, if they're very different ages, what divisions should they go? So keep this in mind, and we'll go check your dancers what division they fit in. The wrong level, we went through the wrong level, the correct level, and how to include it, so we don't have the deduction for wrong level. So we don't have any new old dancers competing with pre-professionals or with students, and we don't have any students competing with professionals. So we want to keep everybody in the same level. So look for the details in your choreography and not include maybe too difficult elements in the new old dancers, and see the elements that can pass you from student to pre-professional, so you don't cross the line and have a deduction for any reason. Also, late arrival to stage. Well, we want to be always not on time, but with enough time for our performances. So when we do our registration, we're going to receive a preliminary schedule where we have a lot of information from the choreography name, the modality, the name of the choreographer, the amount of dancers, and there we're going to have approximate time on stage. Now, we always ask everybody to be there 2 hours in advance. so we can be done, ready. We have our makeup, our costume, wardrobe, anything. If anything goes wrong, we have time to solve any situation that can arise. And also we can see how the competition is going, how if we are a little bit ahead of schedule, if we're going a little bit behind schedule, so we know, okay, it's 10 choreographies till my performance and we are ready. Okay, 5, this didn't dance, so we have 4, and we can be on time, and of course with the schedule in our hand. So it's very important to always be very punctual. False routines start when the choreography starts and the dancer starts the choreography. Dance until the end. Don't stop, don't pause, don't want to restart, because we have one shot. Okay, so as Eminem says, we get one shot, and that's what we have. Now, if we have the circumstance that rarely happens, that can happen, that maybe the music stopped and we had a technical issue, well, let's teach the dancers how they are going to, let's say, assume the situation. And of course, if it's a technical issue and it's out of the hands of the dancer, well, they're not going to be punished for this. Then we're going to see how we can solve the problem. So don't worry about that aspect, but how the dancer is going to assume the situations on stage. Also, the forbidden elements. The forbidden elements will be regarding the competition as a whole, not the specific modality. Now, the forbidden elements will be the use of elements that can endanger the stage or the well-being of any dancer or the security. So this will be use of fire, water, any liquid, dust, feathers that can fall and will come into an injury, and firearms or elements that can harm another person. So keep those elements in mind so you don't have one deduction and we don't injure anybody by accident or have an accident in any case. Also, we have the excessive use of acrobatic or gymnastic elements. In this case, remember, if you are going to include them, maximum 2 acrobatic elements, so we don't have a deduction in this regard. For each acrobatic element that we include over this, we'll have a 1-point deduction each. So let's avoid this. Makeup, body paint, inappropriate, obscene, or offensive clothing. This would be the correct and appropriate clothing for the modality, and of course for the audience, that we have a family-based audience that's open for all cultures. So keep this in mind. No body painting either. And well, if you keep these elements in mind, well, of course it will be accepted. Don't always have to use the costumes that are in the videos or by the dancers. That well, of course, some of them may have a little bit more, let's say, skin exposed than we may have on a family stage, because obviously the focus of each audience is going to be different. So here, keep in mind the public, and of course, well, it should be of a comfortable costume for the dancers as well. Poorly executed elements. Here we're talking about the technical elements in our choreography, that they have a correct execution, no matter the technique where we're taking them from. So if we're doing elements from acrobatics or gymnastics, they should be correctly executed. If we're doing technical turns from, I don't know, jazz or ballet, they should have a correct execution. If we're taking elements from hip hop, same as well. And in general, a good dominium of the body. So the lines of the feet, if they're being pointed, they're flexed, what position, and they're not in an abandoned position that we're not controlling. If we're turning, where are we looking, and how is the use of our head in the turns, the alignment of our feet. So all those details, the control and the awareness of the body is going to be important here. Also tripping or falling, stumbles, maybe instabilities that can I almost didn't complete the exercise or couldn't do it, but we saved it. We'll have a deduction of 0.5. If the exercise fails, if I fell, if I couldn't execute it correctly, well, then it will have 1-point deduction in this case. We also have throwing items to the public. The audience will, of course, be regarding. This means anything we take off or maybe falls off, if we're going to create an effect or maybe put it on stage, do it on stage, create the effect, but don't throw it to the front or off the stage. Well, that's the important part, okay? Also, inappropriate language or music. This is very important, especially when we're using commercial music, because a lot of the commercial music it will has maybe words that aren't proper for a family audience and for including every audience. All dance is for everybody, and we want that to be clear through every aspect, including the music we choose. So it shouldn't have any or cuss words, bad words, any offensive language that can offend any gender, race, anything whatsoever. So be very careful with the songs you choose. And of course, no sexual content either. Now, inappropriate movements are regarding the same aspects. It should be proper for a family audience and should not have a sexualized movements in the choreography. Now, keep in mind that every culture has some, let's say, visualizations of some sexual content. And here we're talking about world view, not just one culture or the other, but worldview, and some elements may be, let's say, not regarding for a family audience. So keep this in mind in the All Dance International. Well, of course, organic code is important. Here, I don't know if Duque has some elements he would like to add, complement, and share with you that will help you in these criteria.
Yes, Sandra. I think most of these deductions are pretty self-explained. I would just recommend that you, as a director or choreographer, should take responsibility for what product you're bringing to the stage. Most of the time, we need to educate our dancers, our parents, and everybody who is part of our staging crew, so they can be aware what deductions they can get if they do something that is not supposed to happen. Because sometimes the dancers are not as trained in these details as the directors and choreographers can be. So we need to share this information to them so they don't do some stuff when they think they are doing something to maybe resolve some mistakes that are happening, and they don't make it worse, As of the inappropriate language, again, try to download the lyrics of the songs you're using, especially if they are in another language. Try to look for the specific meaning, not only of the word, but of the whole sentence and what it refers to. And in the inappropriate movement, it is true that the commercial dance, we're going to have a lot of artist influences, but be aware that this is a family competition, so you can take everything straight from the artist. There are some artists, maybe an example, Anita, that has like a pretty sexual content, openly sexual content, and you can't take everything from the artist. You can't maybe take this context in the choreographies. For example, this challenge, which is trending topic right now, she do the Ambleverse challenge, and everybody's doing it in a lot of places, especially TikTok, but that doesn't mean that it is commercial for this specific modality. Try to keep it family friendly and clean. Be aware of have like a censored supervising kind of scene for these choreographies. And as Sandra said, all of this you can prevent, all of these deductions. Just have the list and try to make check marks when you're sure you're not maybe doing these deductions in your choreography.
Thank you very much. Yes, very important. And well, of course, in commercial dance, it's very important to keep some of the aspects very, very in tune, because of course we can find some contradictions, especially with let's say, the tendencies today and what's viral on TikTok and all those elements. So yes, very, very important. Also in the deductions, we have, for example, accidents or falling of clothing. This will have to be part of what's rehearsed, because every element is important part. So if we have a hairpiece, if we have something on our costume, if we're using a prop, rehearse with it so we don't have any accident, doesn't fall, our costume doesn't rip, any accident that can come with the performance and the costume and all the elements we have with us. That also comes into damaged clothing or untidy clothing. Now, this will mean the elements that we're using, well, of course, should be correctly worn. We shouldn't have any underwear visible. We shouldn't have our laces untied or anything that is untidy in our performance. We also have choreography inappropriate to the vision. This is practically keep your choreography age appropriate. So that would be here. Altisonance at the start or end of the routine. This would include when we use maybe the name of the dance studio, the crew, the group in our music or in said by the dancers. So avoid this so we don't have any deduction. Left elements on stage or on scene. This means everything that goes on stage with us should leave stage with us. From a hairpiece to any element prop we have. And this, of course, we recommend you rehearse with the dancers, that they already know from the rehearsal. When we take our hat off, I don't know, we put it on the floor, we finish, we pick everything up, and who's going to pick everything up to leave? If something fell as well, check your surroundings and leave the stage as we would like to find it when we have our performances. Use of scenery. Now, the use of scenery will be regarding the use of elements that are there just to decorate or let's say generate a sense of where you are, or maybe a time that this is taking place. And the idea is to do that through the choreography, through the makeup, through the costume, not let's say an exterior element that's just there to, let's say, be part of the decor. Now, if we're using any element because it's part of the choreography and it should be at least 30% part of the choreography, well, then it also should be brought up to the stage by the dancers themselves, not any external help. So keep that in mind, that the elements we use should be part of the choreography, and in that case will be considered props and not considered scenery. Okay, this can even include a chair. If we're putting a chair on stage, it should be part of the choreography, not just there to look pretty on stage or generate from where to end our choreography in a sitting position. So use it as an element and a prop in your choreography. Also, bans public or audience obstructing the judgment. This is important that we also educate our audience to know how we can support a dancer without interrupting and without generating any elements that can obstruct the correct, this case judging, but also enjoyment of the choreography. So we should be able to hear the music and interpretation of the dancers to the music. We should be able to visualize it. Of course, we can support the dancers through applauses, but at the beginning and end of the choreography, we can have a more, let's say, high volume and different support. Through the choreography, it should be a more moderate level, of course, applause and support, because some elements we know that are elements that can surprise the audience or generate a reaction, but it should be a reaction that allows us to value the choreography. Getting off, dropping off, or jumping off stage. The way to get off stage or on stage should be the routes that are indicated by the organization to do so. Don't jump off the stage to the front, sides, back in any way, so we don't have any accidents or injuries. And, well, of course, don't have any deductions in this case as well. Routine time. Now, the routine time is because we have a maximum choreographic time for each choreography, not depending on the modality, but depending on the subdivision. This meaning how many dancers are in the choreography, performing the choreography, and of course registered. So let's say, for example, a large group. Large groups in All Dance International are from 13 to 50 dancers on stage. And the maximum time possible for these large group productions are 3.5 minutes. Now, if our choreography only lasts 3 minutes, we don't have a problem. 2.5 minutes, that's okay. Now, what we don't want is to exceed this choreographic time. So for every 5 seconds we go over these 3:30, well, then we're going to have 3 points deducted, and this we don't want. So if your choreography lasts 2:30, maybe 1-2 seconds over, it's okay. Now, 5 seconds, it has a deduction. Now, what happens when we go 4 seconds? Well, technically, we don't have a deduction. However, it is very important to keep in mind that even 1 second that our dancer may move ahead of time or take the time to get to the final pose can become a deduction. So we want to avoid this. So I never recommend going too far to the borderlines of those 5 seconds. Just a friendly recommendation there. Try to keep it, well, maximum 3:30, 3:32 would be tops that I recommend, okay? And of course, also intellectual property that we went over and we saw with the modality judge, just that it will be reflected here on the deduction sheet. Any regulation infringement that can, well, come into action can have a deduction. This is for the correct, well, execution of the whole competition, respect for all the dancers and everybody part of the organization and the competition, and will any element that can, will of course go against these rules can have a deduction in these cases. And last but not least, increase in unreported dancers. So just keep in mind that, remember that preliminary schedule and program we sent you at the beginning? Well, there we have all the elements, including how many dancers are registered in our choreographies. Check that it is correct to what you are going to be presenting. If there is any corrections to be made, do so through the correct channel, email, or maybe WhatsApp, and we'll of course have it corrected. Now, if we have more dancers on stage than what is registered, then we have a deduction, 5 points for each dancer, and it's something we want to avoid. So check our preliminary program. If there are any corrections to be made, do so, and that way we can avoid this deduction easily. So these are the criteria that may come into a deduction. The idea is to avoid them. As you can see, most of them, as we've been saying, can be avoided and are responsibility of the choreographer or the director, and not directly the dancers, especially the highest score deductions. There are some deductions that may just be accidents that can happen on stage. I think we've all slipped on stage, had a stumble. We've all had accidents with some piece of clothing that we learn from and that we learn to avoid on the next occasions. So that is part of the process, but those deductions, as you can see, are the smallest deductions we have on our deduction list. So these are important things to keep in mind, and what is responsibility of you guys is, of course, to teach the dancers these elements, and the ones you can avoid them. So I don't know if there are any other tips, elements that maybe Duque wants to share that maybe I, forgot or just want to add.
Well, Sandra, as you said before, most of these deductions can be prevented if the directors and choreographers have them in hand, check mark them, educate the whole crew that it's leading this choreography to the stage. So just be aware of preventing these deductions. What I do want to add, and it's really important to have in mind, is that nobody can help the dancers get on stage. This happens a lot with younger students, maybe kids, that sometimes the choreographers go to the stage to put them in a clean position. This can't happen. This is a deduction. Sometimes the judges are in the front row of the audience, and we can partly see the backstage, and sometimes we can see how the choreographers or other people is helping the dancers, passing them props or whatever. So try this not to happen, because we still can see when other people is on stage influencing how the dancers are developing their choreographies, and this is also a deduction. So prevent these deductions to happen. It's sad when the judges has to deduct this criteria from the perfect 100 scores that everybody wants to achieve, and it's also kind of sad or confusing having to explain your dancers why did they get deducted when it's mostly responsibility of the choreographer. So prevent this from happening, and you're going to have a pretty great experience on the competition.
Yes, very important. Thank you very much. Those are things to keep in mind, and that will help, and that will of course add value to your choreographies. So this is those tips that we have, that we bring to you regarding, the competition in general, and specifically this modality that brings us today, that's commercial dance. Well, you guys are here learning this information and hopefully applying it to your choreographies. So this will, of course, give you a competitive advantage more than you can even imagine, because knowing the elements that are going to be scored and the elements that can, well, of course, deduct any points, well, it will be important. And especially, I think the most important competitive advantage is when we create the choreography thinking and keeping these things in mind, not just choosing where our choreography fits better, but when we actually design them for the competition and of course the modality. So those are things that will help you in this creative process. Remember, today is our last workshop. The series of 20 workshops has come to an end. We finished with commercial dance. All of these, including this one today, is going to be on our YouTube channel, All Dance International Official. Remember to subscribe, like. If you found this useful, we'll also comment. And well, if you have any questions we can maybe help you with or clarify, we'll use our comment section and we will be glad to get back to you. So thank you, All Dance, for this space and this opportunity. Thank you guys for watching. And thank you, Duque, for the time, for sharing this information, this insight, those very useful tips, and of course, for caring about these All Dancers.
Thank you, Sandra. Again, thank you, All Dance International, Maria Fernanda, Daniela, everybody who is behind this beautiful project and helping all the dancers and choreographers and directors has these amazing tools to develop the proper choreographies for each division. I'm so happy to be part of this, and I can't wait to see all the work everybody's going to put on the qualifiers and the worlds with these amazing tools. So thank you very much, and I'm so happy to be part of this project.
Well, thank you very much as well. Well, today, as we were saying, is our last workshop, but we've had so many workshops. They're all online. You can see all the topics. We've had various judges and experts with us sharing this information. So don't miss out. Use them as consult information, and of course, watch them idly before we do our choreographies for these performances and nothing. Well, I hope this is a very useful information, and well, you enjoy the process, and we will enjoy seeing the work that you bring to the stages with you. So have a great morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you're connected from, and hope to see you guys very soon. Bye-bye.
Didn't break me, didn't stop